Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the DJI Ryze Tello selfie drone, and it's kind of interesting that this is made by a company called Ryze, but it has pretty much everything and all the signature marks of a DJI product. So I have a feeling that this is actually a DJI product, but they don't want to be associated with sort of these low-end toy-grade brushed quadcopters, so they're sort of marketing it under a different brand, the Ryze brand, but pretty much on all the packaging and anywhere else you can see, there's no indication of the company that built this. It just says the name Tello on here, and on the box it says DJI and Intel. And ultimately, that's what sets this product apart from all of the other toy grade selfie drones that you see out there with the brushed motors. And this is what we're talking about, the ones with the brushed motors. They're going to be in the 50, 40, $60 range typically, like a lot of the ones from Eachine, and they're okay for the money. Some of them come with worse cameras than others. The software isn't so hot on a lot of them. It kind of works sometimes. Sometimes the apps crash. This software that comes from DJI on this drone is actually really good. And so it's a software that actually runs the drone itself and the software that's on the app. And I think that if you've ever used any DJI products before, you'll know that the app on the phone has a sort of a DJI feel. You can tell that the same kind of development process for the app was used for this little drone here as on the bigger ones like the Mavic or the Phantom. Very similar in feel and usability. I thought that the app and software on both sides was really good compared to a lot of typical toy drones out there. Now, just to go over the specs really quickly, you get a little micro camera here in the front. It's a 720p video that comes out of here. It's stabilized, so I think that the sensor inside here is actually a 1080p sensor, and it's using some sort of video magic to stabilize the footage and reducing it to 720p. The footage of this camera is actually really good, both in the photos and in the video, and given the fact that this is a brushed motor here, and there's limitations what you can do even software wise to the footage, it's actually pretty stable for what you get and much better than a lot of toy drones out there. Now the battery, this is in the back here, it's a pretty big one. I think it's like 1100 milliamp hours. Yeah, it's 1100 milliamp hours, 1S battery, pretty big. I was typically getting about 10 to 12 minutes of flight time, and the battery just slides in and out in the back here. Sometimes this little notch here will loosen up and the battery might fly out, especially if you crash, so be aware of that. That's another thing about that's great about the software, is that if you have the prop guards on, or if it hits anything hard, it can detect that it's been jarred and they'll stop the motors immediately and just fall to the ground. So that's pretty good in case you run into something, or a tree, or a side of a house, whatever. I would recommend keeping the prop guards on. If you take them off, you can get maybe another 1 more minute of flight time, but I think that having the prop guards on actually makes it safer. Whereas if you do crash with the prop guards off, you might break a prop. They do include an extra set of props. However, why break props when you don't really have to? Over here on the side, we have a little micro USB port. This is actually just for charging the internal batteries. That's how you would charge the battery. You just make sure it's plugged in. Plug in your power source from USB here, and then I'll charge the internal battery on the drone. There is no data on here that you can pull out of because there's no micro SD card. That's one of the major downsides of this model, and I hope that in the next version 2 of the Tello, they include micro SD card on board, because the footage is actually really good that comes out of the camera. However, because it's being streamed over your Wi-Fi signal to your phone, sometimes you get stutters and breakups in the video, and that does detract on the overall sort of the quality of the video in general. And I think that it could have been easily avoided if they just had a micro SD card on board. It doesn't add a lot of weight, and in terms of the processing ability and all that, in terms of the computing power, it's all on board already. So I just don't see any reason why they didn't put that on there. So that's kind of disappointing. Now on the bottom here you have these sensors, and this is what makes this model really good. It makes it stable, flies really stable. You have 2 infrared sensors, or I think they may be also known as ultrasonic sensors, that detects the distance from the drone, from the bottom of the drone to the ground, maintains your height and your position. And then there's a small little camera here that's called an optical flow sensor. Basically, it's the camera. Looks at the ground and detects how it's moving around and keeps it positioned in a fixed position so that it doesn't drift around too much. And that's what makes it really work well. Now, as you get higher up, say like 20 or 30 feet up, this system works less well because it's hard to tell what it's looking at on the ground from a further distance away. From about I would say 6 to 10 feet, this system works really well, and it works pretty well even in high wind conditions. Even though you get like warnings on the screen that it's not going to work that well, it still does a pretty good job even in high winds. Although I don't recommend flying this in high winds, but you'll see some of the footage I took that in the high winds, the footage just get kind of shaky, but it's still pretty usable. Over here on the side is the power button, and the way you turn it on is just like with other DJI products. You tap the button and then press and hold, and then the light will start flashing. The same way to turn it off, you tap and then press and hold, and then it'll turn off the drone after about 3 seconds. Okay, so we'll connect to the drone via Wi-Fi, and we'll take a look at the app real quick here. In your Wi-Fi settings, it'll show up as Tello with some random letters and numbers after it. We'll go ahead and connect to that and launch the Tello app. You get this error message. That's not, you can ignore that. And you can see here the camera is working. There is a little bit of lag. Just so if you try and fly FPV, just be aware that there's some lag. One of the things I wanted to note about the controls is I thought this would be pretty hard to fly compared to like a regular drone with like real sticks. And I was like, okay, well, using these virtual joysticks is kind of hard because you have to be very precise in where your thumb is, always looking down at the phone. And I found that you don't really need to do that. I could just stick my phone or my thumb pretty much anywhere. So you can say start here, and the controller will move to where my thumb press is at. So you don't have to actually look at the controller to use the joysticks, which is nice. And after I got used to that, I was able to fly using the virtual joysticks without having to look at the phone, which was nice. That's a big difference between this app and a lot of the other toy drone apps out there. You have to be very exact where you're touching on the screen, whereas in this particular case, you can move the thumbsticks wherever your thumb lands, which is really nice. Okay, so I'm not going to take it off here on the desk, but to take off, you hit this button here. You get a message to take off. Cancel. If you want to, if you're in the air and you're going to land, you hit that button as well. You have two options for landing: either landing on the ground or you can hand land it. I didn't have too much luck with the hand landing. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I just landed on the ground. It was just easier for me. This button here, the second button here, is for the flight modes. There's a bounce, up and out, circle, 360, throw and go, and flips. A lot of these are kind of gimmicky. Like the bounce mode is kind of gimmicky. Doesn't work. I mean, it just bounces up and down, and I'm not sure if that's all that useful. And then the up and out, it records a very short, like basically the drone goes up and back, so it's sort of like a selfie, like a flyaway type of thing, and it's very short. It only goes a very short distance, and I think that it would be easier just to do it manually. And when I did it manually, I could do it actually more precisely and get the actual shot that I wanted. So this mode I didn't particularly find that useful. The circle mode does work. It's a pretty small circle, so keep that in mind. It doesn't do a huge circle like in some of the bigger drones. The 360 also works as well. It just spins the drone around a circle to get panning shots. Throw and go works pretty good. Basically, you launch that mode, and then within 5 seconds, as the prop spin, you have to throw it, and then it'll automatically hover. And then obviously flips work as well. That's like on any toy drone, it'll just do an automatic flip forward or backwards. Here in the settings, you can do either slow, fast in terms of flight speed. Fast is pretty fast, and I believe that the video breakup is even more in the fast mode, and also the pitch angle is such that you're just basically looking at the ground, so I tend to just use the slow mode. There's this thing called Bluetooth joystick settings where you can get a controller like an actual controller, Bluetooth controller that connects to the phone, and then you can control the drone with your Bluetooth. However, I don't recommend doing that because it's controllable with the phone, no problem. Also, when you have other things going on like Bluetooth, I think you get more stutter in the video because of Wi-Fi interference. So I just when I was actually flying, I would actually go into airplane mode and then return on my Wi-Fi, so that basically my cell radio and my Bluetooth radio were turned off, so you don't get less interference. I think that when you do that, when you go into airplane mode and just use the Wi-Fi only, you get less video breakup. And then here under the more settings, there's this additional settings for your aircraft. You can go in here and adjust the bitrate, but I just left it as auto. I didn't really notice much difference in the video quality changing it to different settings. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? Like, would I recommend this if you're looking for a toy selfie drone? I say if you're looking for a toy class selfie drone, this is definitely probably the best one out there in this sort of class with the brushed motors 1S. The app is great. The video quality is great for this class of drone. Obviously, if you're looking for professional quality video, this is not it. Go and spend the $700 for the, I think it's the Mavic Air, like the low-end Mavic, and you would definitely want to go and spend the money to get that 4K video. If you're looking for sort of like the DJI experience, you want to get an idea of what a DJI product is going to be like, this will give you a pretty good idea if you've never had a DJI product before. If you don't want to spend the I guess it's minimum $500 for the Spark, this will give you sort of an idea of what that experience is going to be like, and what it's going to be like to fly a drone that has a lot of things like self-positioning, easy to fly, pretty good features, pretty good software. This will give you that sort of experience if you want to get that experience sort of at a lower cost and just get accustomed to flying these type of little drones before you move on to the bigger ones. I think this is actually a pretty good product to get if you're sort of in that market. Want to try it out first, maybe get your feet wet, fly it around for 6 months or so, gather a little, some rather decent quality footage, and just see if you like it or not before you go and spend the $1,000 on a Mavic. Anyway, so that's going to do it for this review. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of more shots and footage I took with this. I'm also going to put a little card here in the corner to a playlist. It's going to be an unlisted playlist, so it's not going to be published videos, but I'm going to add additional footage to basically, I'm going to call it the DJI Tello video footage playlist. And as I continue to fly this and gather more footage, I'll post more videos up there in that playlist. You guys can check out additional footage from this drone in the future, because this is one of the easiest drones just keep in the car, because all you need is my phone, and pretty much wherever I go I can just power this up, put it up in the air real quick, and gather a quick 1 or 2 minute video clip, and that is perfect for this if you only need 720p video for these quick little video clips captures and here and there. So you never know when this opportunity might arise, and that's why I just keep this in the car, charged and ready to go whenever I want to gather a quick shot from something. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.